Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next session of From Nothing, Milos' story. Now, last time you had a fairly dire encounter with a scarecrow that was filled with a demon that you might have accidentally summoned by saying his name out loud. But that's not important. We are skipping forward a little bit to the night after that all happened. Where as you go to sleep, I would like you to roll me a D100, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay?
42.
Please roll me a D4.
All right. 3.
3. Okay, one moment here. This requires another roll.
Okay.
Hold on while my page loads here. All right. Okay. Roll me a D3. Two. All right. Roll me a D100. 64.
Round and round the chart we go.
Huh. I need you to re-roll that. That doesn't work.
Okay. That definitely looked like your "this doesn't make sense" face.
Yeah.
So, 22.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So, this night, you have uncomfortable sleep. It takes a long time for you to get to sleep, as if there is something keeping you awake or a fear that you can't let go of to try and fall asleep. But eventually, you do. And once you do fall asleep, it is though you step through a veil once you finally fall unconscious, and you feel the sun's light harshly pressing on your face. And when you open your eyes, you are no longer in bed. You are no longer in the Merigard Academy, but you are where you've been once before, the elemental earth plane. Only you're not where you were last time. Last time you were on a cliff looking over the massive tortoise that was your patron. And now you find yourself in a field. A massive field of stone that you don't know where you are, and it seems as though it stretches in all directions, and above you you can see another continent of rock floating overhead. As you are looking about you, it feels as though you are truly here. What do you do?
Am I standing? Am I sitting? Am I lying down?
You're standing. It's as though you just stepped out of your own consciousness.
Okay. All right. I turn in a slow circle and I look around me to see if there's any signs of life.
Roll perception. 8. You don't see anybody. The movement that you do see are stones floating in the air, defying gravity as they magically orbit the earth around you. Everything here doesn't quite make sense, and you briefly wonder for a moment if you had stepped onto one of those stones, if you would simply fall off it or if you would stick to that instead.
I want to try it. Try to
Okay.
jump onto a floating rock.
Roll me acrobatics.
Not athletics.
No.
Okay.
You are trying to change the direction you're standing. Is going to be acrobatics. But with a 19, there is a moment of just weightless fear as you leap up to a rock and you kick into it with your feet.
Oh god, I
And
made a terrible mistake.
you expect to immediately launch off it and straight down onto the ground, but you don't. You stick to it.
Um, so does my perspective shift so that down is now
Down is to this small boulder that you are stuck to. As you are floating, well, as you are stuck to this boulder that is floating, you notice that it gently begins to move in the direction that you stomped on it. And so it is drifting lazily, very slowly, away from where you had jumped off.
Huh. Huh. This is fascinating. I'm gonna sit down on the rock that I'm floating on.
Okay.
I'm gonna float for a while, and I'm gonna see if I can sense the direction my patron might be.
Roll me a charisma plus proficiency modifier.
Yay.
So
Do I
persuasion, deception, something like that you're proficient in.
I literally have no proficiencies in charisma skills.
What a warlock.
That's
All right.
I'll
Maybe
get
a
one
saving throw.
later. I'll get one later.
Are you proficient in charisma saves?
Looks like it.
So
Maybe.
try that. Give me one of those. It's not actually a saving throw, but that's just the roll we're using.
Yeah.
22.
He will definitely have to try to get a skill in one of these charisma skills. That's ridiculous that I'm a warlock with no proficiencies in charisma.
That may be wise, yes.
That'll be a thing to work on.
You reach
But
out.
I expect actually that Elise will help with that.
You sit on this rock, and you concentrate on your patron, the Xanatar. You focus on the voice you've heard in your mind, on the presence that you felt, on the feeling of intense weight just in front of you, any movement that it might have made, an earthquake on every continent. As you focus on this feeling, you do get almost the feeling of someone looking at you. Just the sense of pressure of eyes on your back. It's behind you. Above you.
Turn around and look up.
You see a massive continent above you. You can see stretching all across it mountains and canyons and ridges and valleys and plateaus and forests. But the forests twinkle. As you look up at it, they're not all green. Some of them are red or some blue or orange, pink, purple, brilliant colors twinkling in the sun's light. And you notice you can't actually see the suns, but their light is everywhere.
There's definitely a light source, but I can't see it. It's like light is from everywhere and nowhere.
Yes, and as you're looking up, you're looking at this forest of gems along next to canyons and plains, and it's your patron is somewhere up there.
All right, I'm gonna start trying to go in that direction. So there's other boulders floating.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start trying to hop, skip.
Roll athletics.
Okay.
Now that you have gotten over the initial strange sensation of leaping and changing your orientation of what is down, with a 21, you hop to the nearest stone, and as soon as you land on it, it begins to turn with your weight as you stick to it. And that is disorienting on its own, but you are firmly planted on this rock. It feels as though you're standing on a tiny planet as it spins, and you are firmly glued to it by your own weight. You have
Fascinating. It's
you-
kind of exhilarating.
you have to wait a
Milos is
few moments.
Enjoying himself. messing with gravity.
As that boulder that you are currently stuck to is spinning, you have to wait a few moments before you can leap to the next boulder until it comes into your orbit. As it is spinning, I'd like you to roll me another perception check.
19.
While the boulder is spinning, at one point you inverse and you are flipping upside down. And you're looking at the original plane of land that you had left. And you see there is a massive stone serpent winding its way across the earth and then diving back into it as if it was water.
Do I get the sense that it was looking at me?
No.
Okay.
You don't know what it was. You don't know where it came from. But it was made of rock, and it is swimming in the earth you just left. As you wait until the boulder spins around so you can safely jump to the next boulder, with a 21 in athletics, you safely leap to the next boulder. And then the next. As this is happening, you notice that everything that you do, you have to be patient and wait for these boulders to move into position.
All about timing. And being steady and balanced.
You notice, though, despite the hard effort of leaping from boulder to boulder, you're not getting tired. You feel the texture of rock beneath your fingertips. You feel the weight of what you're doing, as if you're really here. But you are not tired. There is no fatigue from what you're doing, despite the fact that this would be difficult. There are 6 more boulders before you can reach the landmass above you. And one of the gaps is significant.
As I get to that more significant gap, I would like to call on my Mold Earth cantrip to extend the boulder that I'm on a little to give myself a little bit of a running jump. Because I can expand up to 5 feet.
Yeah.
So I can give myself a little
Yeah, you can do that.
ramp.
That's simple enough. It's a cantrip. You don't need to roll anything. You mold earth. You shape the stone that you are standing on, giving yourself a small, little bit of a runway, as it were.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you don't need to roll athletics again. We can stick with that 21. And you run and leap, and just with intention, you fly up toward that boulder. As gravity changes when you touch it, you feel yourself lock into it, and you are nearly there. While all this happens, you can't help but feel as though no time is passing. You feel like you've been doing this for maybe half an hour, but it feels as though it all just happened instantaneously, or it could have taken years. There's no way to know. Your perception of time is skewed. Roll me another athletics check as you see this massive continent above you.
Aww.
You leap up toward the continent. The rocky plains are surging up toward you, and as graceful as you had leapt from boulder to boulder, this time it is not so graceful.
Milos face plants.
You feel yourself suddenly give way as the gravity changes for you, and you slam into the earth with a shocking upheaval of energy. You feel your brain bounce off your skull.
Oh.
You suddenly feel all the wind knocked out of you, and you awaken in your room, feeling rested, but jarred and confused.
Oh, that was a hell of a thing. All right.
You can click long rest if you need to.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the button because it's been a minute.
On Foundry, it is. Hold on, let me pull up your character sheet. It is underneath the hit dice.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yay.
As
I
you
have long
stir
rested.
and your back kind of hurts from slamming into the earth, it feels as though that actually happened. You feel as though you've just fallen.
All right. All right. He kind of stumbles out of bed, goes to splash water in his face and do his morning beard trim and just squinting at himself in the mirror, like looking for bruises.
There's no sign that it happened, aside from the physical pain that you feel. And the discomfort of it feels as though there might be gravel on your
What?
hair. It's not there.
Ah.
It's all in your mind. As you get yourself ready for the day, do you go to breakfast?
Yeah.
Okay. Your
Creature
roll.
of routine.
Yes. You gain 6 temporary hit points.
Ooh,
Go ahead and make note of that.
delicious breakfast. What's for breakfast?
It looks like breakfast today is toasted bread with this sort of sweet, creamy sauce on top of it, with eggs and bacon laid on top of that.
Mm.
The platters, each of them have 2, sort of a fantasy eggs Benedict sort of thing.
Yum.
Yes. What is Amaranth's equivalent of hollandaise sauce, you ask? I don't know, but it's here. As you eat breakfast, get yourself ready, and you head to the Warlock classroom. You find Dog and Elise having conversation as you enter. It looks as though they've just sat down. And Elise looks at you and she says, "We have a thing we need to discuss. Let me sort out Dog." And you see Dog looks confused, and Elise assigns her to a free agency. Dog leaves with some intentions to handle something in down, and she waves at you as she leaves the room.
This gives her a little wave and then looks curiously back at Elise. Thing?
Tabernac arrived earlier this morning and gave me a stone. A yellow stone that was, he said, attuned to you. Or at least your patron. Apparently, your patron needs help.
What? What? Where did the stone come from?
Elise gestures to the table and she lifts a silk cloth off of something on the table. And you see there is a topaz seated on the table, but it is glowing. The light within the topaz doesn't look stable. It looks as though there is lightning roiling around within the topaz, but it looks faltering, weak, as if the light that is emitting from the topaz is barely seen by anyone. And as you're looking at it, Elise says, "I don't know. But you're going to have to investigate. Can you try reaching out to your patron?"
All right. I try to reach out to my patron. Are you all right? Feels weird to ask. Are you all right?
Roll, I guess, a charisma saving throw, even though it's not a save. Just
Yeah, no, because it's the same thing. It's just I need the
yeah.
We'll fix that eventually. Don't worry, Milos.
Level 1.
You'll... Yeah.
13. You reach out, and for the first time since you fell in that mine, you dove intending to save You don't feel anything.
Can't. I can't reach.
Elise sighs, and she says, I was worried about that. All right. Take this topaz. Go to Tabernacle. He will project you to have a conversation with your patron in person.
I think I was there last night.
You were there.
Maybe he tried to get me, but I couldn't get to him.
It could be true. That could be the case.
I was there. I mean, I dreamed it, but I didn't.
I think the nature of your patron being of a near plane, an elemental plane, means that they can access your conscious when they need to. And in this case, maybe that's what happened.
I couldn't get to him. I could tell where he was, but I didn't manage to get there. I fell into a cliff. All right. So I take this, and he reaches out and he picks up the topaz.
It shocks you. Doesn't hurt, but it startles you. And as quickly as it does shock you, you feel it almost warm and attune itself to your hand. And the lightning calms.
Was it supposed to do that?
I don't know.
All right. Kind of closes his fingers around it, and then, all right, go to Tabernacle, and he'll send me to the Earth plane.
He will send your spirit to the Earth plane. He will project you, is what he said. I have never done anything like this before, but my patrons never demanded that I, be there in person. So this is on you, and I don't know what your patron needs from you.
I don't either, but if he's in trouble, I mean, this is a
now,
bargain,
listen.
You know? I don't know how I could help a Xanatar.
Milos.
Yeah?
He may be in trouble, or he may not. This may be a test. So I warn you to look at everything that happens carefully and with a scrutinizing eye.
All right.
Now, from what Tabernacle tells me and from what I've seen in my own adventures, a projection is a very safe way to visit another plane. There's not very many things that can actually interact with you when you are projected. But if you do find something that can, run. All right. Do you know the way to Tabernacle?
No, being a hero. Yeah, I've been there before when yeah.
Very well. Best of luck, and hurry back.
Thanks. Yeah.
You see that Elise is, making notes on a small book in her lap as soon as you agree.
Okay. Milos will kind of stare at the gem in his hand. You said the lightning sort of calmed down as soon as he touched it. What does it look like now? Is it just
it is slowly
gently glowing, or
it is so the light within the topaz is slowly shifting between the facets. It's like looking at a thundercloud after a storm, and the remaining energy is just dancing within it.
Okay. And then he kind of shrugs and shakes himself a little bit, and then goes to head towards Tabernacle's library.
Okay. You head out. Let me pull up the main room. As you are leaving Elise's classroom, as soon as you leave and you close the door, Dog is standing in front of you. And she says, "You're going to tell me what that was about, right?"
Well, how much did you eavesdrop on?
Nothing. Not this time.
All right. Something
Elise
weird's
said
happening.
I shouldn't do that.
Something weird's happening. Elise said it might be a test, but I have to go get projected to the elemental plane of Earth, I guess.
Dog looks startled.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I understood Earth.
Yeah, that's where my patron lives. I have to go there.
You have to go there?
Just my astral, my soul part, I think. I have to go talk to the wizards about it.
Can I come with you?
Don't you have a thing? Free agency thing?
Yeah.
Isn't it like, don't you have to do that?
Yeah, but this seems interesting.
I mean, I don't want you to get in trouble for not doing what you're supposed to do just because I have something interesting happening.
You see Dog, like, squints her eyes and looks at the door and says, okay. But wouldn't it be better if you had a partner?
I honestly have no idea. But if you want to come, I guess. Uh, okay, but you have to do your free agency as soon as we're done.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, let's go.
She follows you.
Milos is like, is this a good idea? I don't think this is a good idea. I'm doing it anyway. Whatever. He's like, he's got a look on his face like, regrets.
Dog is behind you, so she can't see it.
So you can't actually see his face. He's just like,
Uh,
questioning his better judgment even as he's letting her come along.
Sure. Dog seems pleased that you've acquiesced. And as you make your way across the Merigard Academy, up the tower, all the way up to Tabernac's classroom. Where did he go? I've lost my token for Tabernacle. Gosh.
Back here, you dragon.
There he is. You enter the library, and in this time, the students that you've seen in there before are not here. Tabernac's classroom is empty, but Tabernac is in human form. You see a wizened old man, balding on the head, with dark brown hair in almost the monk's hairstyle. And as he looks over square spectacles at a tomb, he looks up at you and says, I've been expecting you. But not you. And he looks past you at Dog. And he says,
Morning, Tabernac, this is Dog. She, is very curious.
I will always respect curiosity. However, do you not have a task you are assigned? And Dog, like, looks between you and Tabernac, and she says, I do, but... Look, it's just fascinating. If she's going to go to the Earth, what does that mean? And Tabernac says, the elemental Earth plane, where you have no bindings, and so I'm not sending you there. And Dog just... Good luck, Milos.
Good luck, Dog. Try not to get into any trouble, huh?
She frowns at you. And then leaves.
She wanted to learn.
I cannot blame a student for trying. All right, so...
What is this? He holds up the stone.
That is a soul stone.
Does it have a soul in it?
Tabernac looks at you and he says,
Milos has no idea what a soul stone is. He doesn't have, he's not proficient arcana. He's just like, what?
It contains the spirit of an earth elemental.
Oh.
While it is capable of possessing the soul of a person or a creature, that is generally frowned upon.
Right.
It is being used as well, in this case, alarm system for your patron. Imagine my surprise when today I woke up and this rock was sitting on my stage. And through some divinations, I determined it originated from the Earth Elemental Plane, from one bound to Milos Orthandri.
Oh,
Something connected to you sent this.
because he couldn't reach me.
Apparently.
He tried. I dreamed there, but I couldn't get to him last night.
Couldn't or wouldn't?
I tried.
Well?
There was a lot of I tried, but there were a lot of boulders, and I just couldn't make it. I woke up. Well, I was still trying to get there.
Every power, every patron, every entity seems to enjoy having their strings attached. And in this case, it looks as though yours requires your personal assistance with something. So, you are going to sit at this table.
Yes, sir.
And you are going to join me in a ritual.
Milos sits down at the table, and he looks up at Tabernac like...
Tabernac sits down next to you, and he begins laying down parchment, and he begins lighting incense, and he says, I would just cast this, but I don't feel like burning that much energy. Now, for the next 10 minutes, I need you to be quiet. And before you can say anything else, Tabernac reaches out with a deftness, and he grabs your left hand and sets it flat on the table. While that is happening, he's tracing with his other hand all sorts of these inscriptions, and he performs a ritual to cast astral projection. It takes a while. This ritual proceeds slowly, and finally, after what looks like just almost miles of writing and inscribing, Tabernac says, Unfortunately, there is no easy way to port you directly to the elemental plane. However, I am aware of where the portal to the elemental plane is in the astral sea. And so, that is where you are going. Step through the yellow portal. Do not mess around. Do not deviate. You will perhaps...
Do I know what the astral sea even is?
No. He's speaking nonsense to you.
Milos is just sitting there with his eyes big, like, okay. He is very good at being quiet, though.
I'm going to have... I need to roll insight for Tabernac to see if he's going to screw you over here, by assuming you know.
Oh.
Okay. Tabernac stops in the middle of what he's saying, and he says, Are you familiar with the astral sea?
No.
The astral sea is a vast, unending soup. It is a mental playground for those of vast intellect to manipulate the cosmos to their will. You, as someone who has been projected... You can see he's trying to be patient as he's laying all this out for you. It doesn't seem like he is very good at explaining this particular thing, obviously. He says,
biting his lip and thinking, I don't have a towering intellect. This is not a good place for me to go.
When you arrive in the astral sea, you will see a yellow portal. Look like a big yellow disc. Yes?
Understood. Yellow.
You cannot walk in the astral sea. You cannot swim, you cannot fly. The only way to move in the astral sea is to think it. You must think yourself to the portal.
All right. I don't know how to move by thinking, but I guess I'll just think portal.
No, you have to think about the direction you wish to move in. I am confident you will figure this out. Now, should you need to end this projection early, you need simply think the words croissant.
right?
It's a pastry.
I know what it is.
I like them, so I use it many times for my trigger words.
I see.
Just concentrate on pastry. Croissant. I get excited about it.
All right.
Are you ready, Milos?
As I'll ever be.
Good. And he strokes a single line on the inscription. And as quickly as it began, you are suddenly cast out of your intellect into the astral sea. It is bizarre. It's like falling asleep suddenly as if you had no control, and you are floating in an abyss. A black, starry abyss. A void that seems to go in all directions. It is not cold, it is not hot, you don't feel any wind, it feels as though you are floating. Just lost in an ocean that doesn't move.
I feel like Milos' first reaction to this is gonna be to just straight up scream. I don't think that there was anything that could mentally prepare him for this in the conversation that he just had.
I think you're right.
But I don't know that his screaming into the abyss is gonna do anything.
It doesn't do anything, no.
But that is what happens.
No, nothing changes, nothing happens, but you are screaming into the abyss. And the abyss does not care.
Do I see a portal?
Roll perception. It is below you. You look down beneath your feet and you see that what it's not. It's like 50 feet away, but the portal looks deceptively enormous. So it's a hard gauge to see how big it actually is, and how far away it actually is.
You're like a tiny, tiny bee floating above an enormous sunflower head.
Yeah.
And I think about what Tabernac said, and I start thinking very hard about down.
Roll an intelligence check.
And I'm trying to do this without, like, just collapsing into gibbering terror, but we'll see how it goes. Alright.
Yeah. You begin to move slowly. With an 18, you slowly drift at about 10 feet around.
Okay. This is the strangest thing that I've ever experienced. This is the strangest thing that I've ever experienced.
There is no sensation of movement. There's no breeze. The only thing that you can see that even gives you a sense that you are moving is that the portal is slowly getting bigger.
Is there anything else around here, or is it just nothingness all around me?
Roll me investigation.
It's for the best.
There are things that are in the distance. Some of them seem very big but hard to make out. Some of them seem very small and hard to make out. The only way you can tell them is by the shadows they cast from the distant starlight. Nothing seems to be moving, or at least is fast enough that you can tell.
Yeah. Right. And Milos is like, nope, I'm not. You know what? I don't want to know. I don't actually want to know the answer to those questions in my brain. I just want to keep going down.
Roll me a D100.
Down. Okay. 21.
Hold on. Let me see what that did. Roll me another D100. $61. Drifting across your perception, very close to you, is a very small book. About this big. Looks like a little pocket book.
Almost instinctively, Milos reaches for it.
Okay. You take it.
Look at it.
It's small, brown leather. What languages do you speak?
I'm pretty sure it's.
Just giant
Oh,
and...
he also has deep speech for some reason that I don't
Okay.
remember.
The cover of this book is clearly labeled in a scrolling hand that seems like there are very... Like each letter is very intentionally made the shape that it is. You don't know what language it is, but... Or, I'm sorry, you can't read it, but you do recognize it as Gnomish. If you look in the book, you see that each page looks as though there is some Gnomish writing that you can't read, but each page is clearly giving step-by-step blueprint instructions on how to make a clockwork fish.
Milos looks at it, and he looks down at the portal, and he looks at the book.
You are still drifting toward the portal.
Yeah, and he says, "No, this is the strangest thing that I have ever experienced." But he's going to take that book and he's going to put it in his pocket.
As soon as you try to, the book just kind of drifts off through your pants off into the astral sea.
Oh, that's right.
You're not actually here. Yeah.
I don't have a body. But I have now seen instructions for making a clockwork fish.
You could, in theory, try to make a clockwork fish now.
Okay. Probably won't, but I could.
Probably won't. You slowly drift toward the portal. That's what you rolled, so it's the astral sea. Weird stuff happens. You float toward the portal, and as you get closer, there is a smell that suddenly begins to fill your senses. And it is not unpleasant, and it's also one you recognize from your dream. It is the smell of fresh tilled earth. It's almost a dusty smell, even though as you're in the astral sea and you are suddenly very acutely aware that you're not breathing.
But wait, I'm not breathing. How can I tell what smell is?
It's just there. It's suddenly in your senses. Now, as you drift into the portal, it feels oddly as though your feet and then your calves and then your thighs are drifting into thick, warm honey. It's a very viscous feeling. It's not super pleasant, but it's also not awful. It's not cold or hot.
Is it, when you say it's like warm honey, does that mean it is sticky like honey? Like, do I feel like it's sticking to me as I drift through it?
No, it's not sticky. It's just viscous.
Thick.
Yes. And then suddenly, as you drift the rest of the way in, that sensation is gone. And you find yourself standing, again, in a different spot on the Earth Elemental Plane. It's a different feeling, though, as your feet do not seem to actually hold up your weight. You are here, but you are not physically in contact with anything. And you look down in your feet and you kind of test it, and your foot can kind of pass through the ground a little.
So is there no gravity for me right now?
No.
Is it, so is moving like it was in the astral plane?
Yes.
All right, I think about forward.
It is much easier here. You suddenly just begin moving forward as if you're walking speed. But there is no real effort to it, and you just kind of drift. Your feet, you watch as they seem to pass through ridges of stone that are a little bit higher off the ground.
It doesn't matter whether I'm walking on rock or air.
Correct.
Okay. This might be easier than trying to jump hopscotch through this whole place. But can I get a sense of the direction of my patron?
Roll me a charisma plus proficiency check.
Okay. God damn it.
10. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Only this time he's behind you.
All right. Turn around.
And you head in that direction?
Float that way.
Okay. As you are drifting, you feel your sense of time is much more accurate now, as you are not asleep and it's not the strange dream state. You drift for 45 minutes. As you're drifting, you see many strange things. Less strange than in the astral sea, but still peculiar in an
Do I
earthy
see the snake
sort
from
of way.
last night?
No. Instead, you see massive Titan-like earth elementals that slowly walk their way across the unending plains of rock and stone. They don't pay you any mind. They don't seem to pay each other any mind. You watch as they step up to massive cliffs and chasms, digging their enormous humanoid-like hands into the rock, and as they emerge, they come out with handfuls of gold and gems and crystals, and they proceed to shove them into their earth-like mouths, eating of the bounty of the earth plane.
Huh.
The amount of wealth that you see you could grab if you were here but for a moment is mind-numbing. As you float across the ground, you realize that the soil that you are floating over is not soil, it is powdered bronze. It reflects the sunlight in brilliant and beautiful ways, as if oil could be powdered and reflected in rainbow patterns.
Imagine the art that someone with talent could make out of that.
Imagine, yeah. Hint, hint, viewers. Anybody? Fan art of the Earth plane? Yeah. As you are floating in the direction of your patron, roll me a perception check.
16.
You were drifting in the direction of where you sensed your patron was. And then suddenly, it switches behind you again.
All right, I look up and I look down.
As you look down, you see there is a tiny, little wee stone turtle on the ground.
Okay, I'm gonna go there.
Okay? This tiny little stone turtle, it is slowly moving across the ground, and as you get close to it, it is the size of the palm of your hand.
Milos is like staring down at this tiny turtle. And he knows he doesn't have a body, but he still reaches out to it. Is there any reaction?
As you reach out to it, you hear, "It is about time you arrived."
Tiny.
Yes. You have been observant as always.
Ow.
Dow mischief. Do you know what a Dow is?
I do out of character. I was trying to decide if Milos does.
Well, he grew up around giants and their mythology. Yeah. So I would say roll me a history check at advantage.
Okay.
A 15. You know the story of Dailo, the Tao who became a goddess. You know that Tao are earth genies. You also know that they can be fickle.
Capricious, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Milos folds himself down and sits on the ground in front of the tiny, tiny turtle. And as he sits on the ground in front of the tiny, tiny turtle... Sorry, Dad has handed me a coupon. He goes, "How do I undo this? Do I need to... I mean, bargaining with the Tao doesn't strike me as a great plan for me, but if it's what I need to do, I'll try."
Pick me up.
Milos tries to scoop up the turtle.
What you scoop up, so it's weird. Your fingers seem to pass through the actual form of the turtle. But as you lift your hand and look, you're holding a turtle that is as ethereal as you are.
Mm-hmm. So we're both spirits, so I can touch him.
Yes.
Kinda. Okay. Milos puts him on his shoulder.
You hear...
It seems more dignified than just Paul carrying him.
Sure. The turtle seems to nestle in on your shoulder, and you hear in your ear, "We must venture to the city of jewels, the dismal delve. We must find a Tao named Guteau. He will make this right."
Right? What direction do I go?
The turtle slowly begins to turn its head, and then you suddenly feel a pull as its little feet kind of scrape on your shoulder to your left.
Right. Milos takes a deep breath, even though he's not breathing. He mentally takes a deep breath and goes, all right. And he starts floating in that direction.
This will be a long journey.
All right. I don't actually know how long this astral projection is going to last, but...
It will last until you are finished.
Oh, good.
Roll me an insight check.
Okay. That's 5.
Yeah, turtle seems serious.
I could go back and get help if we need.
All we need is you.
Well, you got me. Here we go.
And you begin heading in the direction. Okay.
This is very small gods, and I love it.
Let me pull up a chart here. Hold on. Okay. As you begin to journey, you realize now you have no idea just how far, just how big, just how distant. You realize this is such a different world from the one...
I have no idea what I'm doing.
This is completely alien to you. Yeah. There are creatures here towering over the landscape. There are creatures that are as small as gnats, but are almost tiny rock flies that look as though they might try to harangue you, but as they fly towards you, they realize you are not a corporeal thing. And so you kind of see them dart through your flesh and then just fly away because you are not of any substance. It's an odd feeling. Are you trying to avoid notice, or are you trying to move quickly?
I think that Milos is trying to avoid notice because he has borne in mind what Tabernac said to him about anything that can interact with him here is something he needs to run away from. So he's just, like, when he sees something that looks like it could be cover, he kind of angles for it and is sort of twisty.
Sure. Roll me stealth. At advantage, because you are incorporeal and you're not making any noise.
Right. Okay. Not Milos' strength, but
sure.
He can still try.
$19. With a 19, it is easy to avoid the notice of many of these denizens of the Earth Plane, as they don't seem to care anyway. They are as stubborn and resistant to change as you would expect them to be. And as you're making your way with a 19, I need you to roll me a d100. As there are going to be random encounters in the Earth plane. 89. Let's see
I
what you...
almost stopped on an odd 1, and that would have been amazing, but please. 89. Million to 1 chance.
As you are making your way, it's almost like habit as you are walking. Your feet, you move them as if you were walking, even if you don't need to. And then, as you step, you notice that you are moving over land that has some puddles of what looks like not quite water. But when you step, there is a splashing noise.
Does it shimmer?
Yeah, it does.
Does it move like Mercury moves?
Yeah, it does. You earn an inspiration point for immediately getting what it was.
Okay, I'll mark that on my sheet. Huh.
As you
Milos
step
doesn't
in
know
it,
what that is, I don't think.
sure. As you
But-
step on it, you hear the turtle next to you say, "Be careful, for that substance can be considered soul poison. You do not want to touch it any longer than you have to."
All right. Can I make myself float above it?
Yes.
Okay, so I can just avoid contact with it using weird astroluki.
As you float above it, you see that this silvery liquid seems to almost trace you, as if there are magnets in the bottoms of your feet pulling it toward you. But as you
From where I touched before. So
Yes.
It's like right. Okay.
as it is tracking you, it doesn't require much for you to move out of its range, but it moved almost as if it was sentient, and that made you feel uneasy.
Comfortable. Yeah. I think that puddle is watching me.
Me too.
Ugh.
Perhaps.
Milos is gonna start moving faster.
Sure. You move faster away from the puddle, and you notice there's lots of puddles. Some of them are much bigger than others, but the only one that was tracking you was the first one that you stepped into, the one that got a taste of you. The rest of them sit inert, gently reflecting the sun's light, not changing as you approach it. But they do shift with the constant vibrations of the earth plane, and ripples that send out reflections in all directions. Roll me a perception check. As you are floating over and away from these puddles of mercury, of soul poison, you suddenly get the feeling that you are being watched. And when you look up, you see there is a massive silvery raven that is set atop just a small little crook, an alcove, a balcony almost, over the mercury. And when you look up at it, the raven's massive head tilts and looks at you, and it says, "A far traveler!" What?
Yes, I've definitely traveled far.
Watch your step here.
I'm getting that idea.
What?
Do you know how far it is to the City of Gems?
The raven's head tilts, looking down at you. Why would you want that place? Full of fools. Greed. Hate.
really want it, but I might need it.
You tell me something, I tell you something, huh?
Information for trade seems fair. What do you want to know?
The raven kind of leans forward as it tucks in, looking down at you. What is your name? What?
They call me Milos.
The raven kind of bows its head and tilts it. They call me Tugan! What?
Nice to meet you, Tugan.
Do not stay long. What? And you say, as the raven says that, you just like in nodding, you kind of glance down, and you realize mercury has been gathering around your feet.
Jump and keep moving up.
As soon as you jump, the raven kind of bobs on its perch, and it says, how many giants? What? Back that way. Where you came?
How many? Do I know?
Yeah, you saw quite a few. As you think about it, roll me a history check.
Okay.
8. At least 4. There could have been more. You don't remember very well.
I'm not sure. There seemed like a lot of them. There, more than I could count on one hand, probably.
Tugan waits to feed. What? And then the raven kind of tilts its head again in a strange bird-like gesture and points in the direction that you were already heading. And it says, half a sunset? What?
Milos thinks inwardly, well, I don't actually know how time works here, but thanks for the trade, he says.
The raven, the silver raven, that is the same color as the mercury, kind of dips its beak, and suddenly the beak like thumps into the stone, and you see a small sapphire that it plucks from the rock and tosses to you.
Milos doesn't think he's going to be able to catch it, but he reflexively lifts his hand to catch it anyway.
As the sapphire passes through your hand and lands on the ground, the raven, and just seems to cluck and chuckle to itself before returning onto its balcony. And the last thing you see are silver raven tail feathers as it is turned around.
All right. I'm just going to keep walking, or floating.
Yes. As you are floating, the mercury has gotten very close, and I'm going to require an intelligence saving throw to dodge it.
No.
6.
That's a 6.
You take 1d4 points of maximum HP damage.
Ow.
So your health is going to be reduced by this much. Let's see how I roll. I roll a 4. Your maximum HP is reduced to 9.
Ow.
That does ignore the temp HP, unfortunately.
Yeah, I figured since it was,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So I'm going to also set my hit points to 9.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave the temp in place. Okay,
You still have the
9.
temp, yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's a cold burn that seems to sear through the heels of your feet. And as it stings, you feel it run up your spine into the back of your head. And you manage to pull away from it before it manages to cling to you, but it hurts. Hurts worse than...
That can't be good. That cannot be good.
But you get away from the mercury pools.
Oh. Wonder if that bird was made of this stuff.
The turtle in your ear says, I don't know.
The sunset. Well, on we go.
All right, you continue. Roll me a d8. All right.
4.
Roll me another d100.
Okay. 58.
58. You suddenly come across, as you basically emerge from around this small mountain, you've been traveling for about another 30 minutes, when as you emerge, it's almost as if you're trying to be stealthy. It slipped your mind for just a split second. And as you emerge, two individuals who are humanoid both in size and shape, except their skin is very rocky and craggy, and they have eyes the color of slate. You realize two Earth Genasi. One of them is pulling a cart, and the other one is pushing it. And the cart is filled with gemstones. And as you are making your way, they suddenly stop as they see you, and they go, the first one, do you speak Primordial?
Nope.
Okay, the first one looks to you and says, oh, gosh. And the one in the back says, guys, Roskit. And he's like gesturing to you.
Sorry, I'm not getting it, he says in common.
The Genasi in front looks surprised and says, with very thick accent, you're not from here.
No, no, I'm from the prime material?
I thought you could... And you see he thinks for a second, he says, or a ghost.
Yeah, I'm not really here. I'm a figment here.
You see that, like, over his shoulder, the other Genasi has, like, set down the cart and has picked up a club and looks confused. And the one that you were first talking to turns and holds up a hand and says, and the one kind of lowers the club and replies, and the one says, you are visiting?
Yes. I'm trying to get to the City of Gems. I have some business there that I need to take care of.
Roll persuasion.
Damn.
A natural 20. Is far. You have many... You see he's thinking about it, and he says, many steps. He looks confused.
And goes, I wish that surprised me.
Goes to Boskitty. He looks frustrated as he's trying to remember the words in common.
Milos tries deep speech. Is this better?
Deep speech.
I mean, it's from underground. It was just a thought because it's from underground because that's where he learned it.
Hold on a second here. I think we need to edit that because deep speech is not from underground.
Oh.
It's the language of illithids and aberrations from the far realm.
Oh, well, that's terrible. Okay. So, I think I got it from the deep farmer background, which is why I thought that it was from underground.
Sure.
So we can certainly sub it to something else.
We can absolutely sub it to something else. Languages that you would have learned from being in Fidi and working underground could have been Undercommon, Dwarvish, Giant, or Primordial.
Well, I've got giant, and we've already said that I don't speak primordial, so I'm gonna just say I think dwarvish makes sense because his dad was into trade.
Sure. So
So
you try dwarvish.
yeah, I'll try that,
Uh,
and I'll fix this in
both
my sheet.
both of the Genasi look relieved, and in dwarvish, the one in the back says, "Oh, he's the trader. A trader is here." And the one in front says, "Oy, fair enough. We worry you might be some new danger. We're not familiar ghostly form. It is scary, you know."
Sorry about that. It wasn't exactly my intent to come here this way. It was just the only way I could come, and I, you know, I needs must drive.
It's fair enough. Watch as you proceed around the mountain. The rockworm caverns are there, so maybe go wide. And farewell.
Thanks for the warning. I appreciate it. Stranger in these parts. Don't know the risks.
Yes, we can tell. And the Genasi will re-pick up their cart, and they continue on their way.
Okay. Well, that was nice of them.
You hear the turtle next to your ear say, "You are not a Dao. You are no threat to them. They are free around you."
That makes sense.
Do look like a ghost, though.
Yeah, That's part of why I was trying to stay out of sight, but I kind of messed that up.
The little turtle kind of like pats your shoulder with one club foot. You do better.
Yeah, on we go. Avoiding rock caverns, or I guess
Rockworm.
rockworms.
They could slay you as you float here.
Like the mean puddles of soul poison.
Yes.
All right. Well, on we go.
And you continue. Roll me a d8. Okay, roll me a d100.
I am hitting all of the encounters.
You're hitting all of them. 52.
52. Very eventful trek through their plane.
As you are making your way through the earth plane.
I have a question.
Hit me right in the face.
Okay. When I was here before, when I was in my weird dream state, I wasn't getting tired at all. But what about my astral? Like, do I feel mental fatigue? Am I getting tired? I've been walking for a while.
No.
Okay, cool.
That might change later, but right now
Sure,
you don't
but right
feel
now I'm
any
okay.
draw. Yeah, you're doing fine. With a 52, you follow the advice of the Genasi that you met. As you are making your way over and around these craggy mountains and underneath hanging massive boulders that block your vision of many things, as you raise over a crest of rock, you see there is a corpse in front of you. But it's not the corpse of a person or a titan. It is the corpse of a massive stone dragon. What strikes you as odd and what stands out to you is there is a shining, gleaming pearl of blue-white that seems as though it has frozen, dripping from the eye of the stone dragon.
What is that? I guess I'll get closer to it.
As you approach, the turtle in your ear says, "He's a rockworm tear."
Here.
The last essence of the soul of the rockworm. He was denied the afterlife, and so this is what remains.
So it's soul?
A piece of it. You can take it if you like.
Milos thinks about that, and then he sort of checks over his gear, the gear that was with him, right? Like,
you're wearing it. It's just it's kind of
his
ethereal.
soul gear. Okay. He is going to sit down and take off one of his ethereal boots and pull off an ethereal sock.
Okay.
And he's going to put his ethereal boot back on, and he's going to try to put the soul fragment in his ethereal sock.
You collect the rockworm tear with a sock. It is heavy. It fills your hand through the sock. It almost has a warm, pulsating sense to it. And you notice that you can see your own fingers in the sock through the tear. It's slightly transparent. It's as if a giant droplet, but it's solidified.
What's the texture like?
Smooth as glass.
All right, I'm going to put this sock with a tear in it in my pocket.
Okay. You can add to your inventory a rockworm soul tear.
Okay. Add custom item. Rockworm soul tear. Alrighty. Okay. And then guess I'm gonna keep going.
Okay. Roll me a d8.
You know what could kill something like that?
A titan.
Alright. Seems like I should maybe not be underfoot of something that could kill that.
You would pass through.
Oh, well, that's good. It's a 5.
Only if a creature intends to sever your tether will you be lost. And
right.
As he says that, and you kind of are looking at the turtle, in your peripheral, you notice there is a fine, tiny thread that runs off your back and vanishes into the distance after about a foot. A 5. Okay. Roll a D100. Literally going to hit everything.
Every single one. 34.
Nope. Reroll.
Okay.
Okay.
Double odds.
Okay. This is peculiar. This is the DM telling you this is going to be peculiar.
Okay.
As you are floating, you're making your way, and you've been traveling for a few hours now. It is slow going as you are trying to be careful, and any hint of movement you are hiding from. It's okay. As you roll the D1, you roll the 100. I just hate that this is part of this. As you round the corner, suddenly there is a tearing sound, and in front of you, about 20 feet away, you see a wizened old man with a white-haired ponytail draping down his back, peers through a tear in the stone, looks around and says,
God.
"No, this isn't right," and vanishes back into the portal with a whick, and it's gone.
Milos stands there he goes, "What? Who? What?"
I am confused as well.
Well, whoever it was, I guess they're gone now.
I
I think.
suppose you are right.
I just check around the portal or the place where the portal was and see if anything like got left here, or if there's a booby trap I'm about to step into or
Roll
something.
investigation.
Okay. This Milos is disturbed by how random that was. I think it's hilarious. I remember that guy.
You don't see any sign of anything.
Okay. All right. Onward we go.
Of course you'd roll it.
That is funny.
Okay. As you continue, I need one more d8.
Okay.
Now roll on the bottom end of it, please. Nope. Roll a d100.
Okay.
A 37. Roll me perception.
That's 12.
You've been traveling for another few hours. At this point, you crest a cliffside and you're looking down over a massive valley, and the valley is filled with tall, gray obelisks. These massive, four-sided rectangles that seem to reach high up into the quote-unquote sky, pointing toward another continent that floats high above. And as you are cresting over this cliff, one of the obelisks is close to you. And with a 12, you see that near the base of the obelisk there is an opening where gray light seems to be emitting from. You glance over at the other obelisks, and they all seem to have similar openings, but with different colors of light. And the one that's nearest you is only 100 feet away, and the next nearest obelisk is almost a quarter mile away.
There's a neighborhood?
There are many denizens of this plane, beyond what you or I even may understand.
I'm gonna keep moving, but I'm very curious about the opening, so I'm gonna just sort of sidle at a diagonal closer to it to see if I can get an idea of what it is.
In the opening, you see that the base of the obelisk is maybe 20 feet wide. It's enormous. On all sides, it's 20 feet at the bottom. And the opening looks as though it's as if a section of the obelisk is cut away, except there are four, basically, supports keeping the obelisk standing. In that opening, you see that there is what looks like it's almost a pillow or a cushion. And on the cushion, you see is a sphere. And this one, the one that you're nearby, is emitting gray light. You see that there are inscriptions along the bottom side of the obelisk as you get closer, in the opening itself, not on the actual stone on the outside.
Can I tell what language they are?
It is strange. It is not a language that you recognize, or at least not at first glance. Go ahead and roll me a... You're not proficient in Arcana, so roll me a history check. It's a pretty high DC, but there's a chance.
Nope, that's
No
a
way.
natural one.
It is strange. It doesn't seem to make words in the same way of any other language that you know. It is bizarre.
I don't know what this is. But it probably doesn't have anything to do with us. Right?
Most likely not.
Alright, I'm gonna back up. And then I'm gonna float on. The next obelisk is it the same color?
No.
No, it's a different color.
Each one is a different color, actually. And the one that you are approaching, roll me a d20.
3.
The next one is emitting a warm green light, like the color of forest.
And it's the same language stuff on the...
Yep.
And it's resting on a pillow.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else in the opening?
Nope. Just the sphere sitting on a pillow with an inscription surrounding the pillow on all four sides.
And looking up into the obelisk, do I see anything?
You stick your head up into the opening to look.
Yeah, I peek.
You see that the top of the opening comes up into a point, like a pyramid that you're looking up inside of, and it reflects green light back down. You're not proficient in Arcana, but go ahead and roll me an Arcana check. You have no idea what you're looking at.
I am so confused. Okay.
Milos just doesn't have the education.
Milos does not have he does not have the background. He has no idea what this is. He's curious and baffled.
You have, as it happens, you have found a thing that your character is not equipped to know anything about.
Yeah. No, it's fair. I mean, it is 100% fair. He is a level 1 warlock who spent most of his prior life working in a mine and a foundry. So he just is going to keep on walking.
Okay, you proceed on past.
Yep. I have learned at least some of my lesson, and I'm not going to start poking my fingers and toes into magic stuff that I don't understand.
Okay. You continue past. And as you do, finally, rising over the crest, you've been traveling for what feels like 10, 12 hours, half a sunset. As you rise over the next crest of stone, you see above you, on the floating continent that you kind of has always been there, and different, it's been shifting, and other stones and floating islands have been passing by, and this time, as you rise and look, you see a gleaming, sparkling metropolis. Larger than Silver's Reach, larger than Procellus, larger than Anchors or Augur City, is a massive city made of what looks like, at a glance, stone. But as you look at it, you realize it is actually nestled into an enormous cavern. As you take in the scale of the cavern, your eyes follow it around the side, and you realize you're in the same cavern. You have been this whole time. The city itself has tall spires that reach high with domed structures that seem almost temple-like, reminding you of paintings you've seen of Eastern Aurelia, but so much bigger and so much more ornately built, with massive gemstones set into the mosque-like roofs that gleam with sun's light in all directions. And you realize there are no suns in here. The light is coming from the tops of these towers, so bright that it reflects all the way throughout the cavern.
Made their own suns.
And as you look at it, the turtle on your shoulder says, "It has been quite a journey, but here we are."
Here we are. Now we have to find a particular Tao in this crystal haystack, huh?
You are protected by me, so long as you mind your manners, pay no offense, and you will walk out just fine. Well, float out.
I'll do my best, sir.
Do you float up to the City of Jewels?
I do.
The City of Jewels. as beautiful and as welcoming as one could possibly imagine in the realm of stone. That is where we're going to end tonight's session.
So big.
That's so big. Thank you for playing with me, and everybody who may have been listening, thank you for watching this chapter of Milos' story. I hope you had a good time. This was definitely I mean, you rolled it, but it was definitely a weird. It's been weird.
It was a weird sesh, but it was great. I love my tiny turtle patron. So
He is maybe a little bit indignant right now, as he's very small.
sure, because he's tiny.
Yes.
What the shit? All right.
Thank you all for watching, and that is going to be the end of the recording. We'll see you next time.